Hello, everyone. Welcome to Calm State's panel discussion. I'm your host, Akanksha. This week, we are celebrating World Mental Health Day, which happens to be on 10th of October. And today, we have a number of guests with us. Each one of them agrees with the fact that mental health matters and it should not be seen as a common stigma in the society. Before I begin with the questions today, let me give you a quick introduction about our panel members. We have Anjali here. Hi, Anjali, who is a psychologist and has given a decade of her lifetime to the field of psychology. Then Hina Vasnani. Hi, Hina, is here, who is a counseling psychologist, psychotherapist, relationship coach, and tarot card reader. Ayushi is with us, who is a mental health enthusiast at Calm Sage. Also, Swarnakshi is a fighter and survivor of depression, now spreading awareness about mental health issues. Sarang is a strong contender for discussion about mental health issues from male's perspective. And talking about Mridula, she is a blogger and concerned with the lack of knowledge about mental health among the people. Welcome you all. Hi everyone. Let's begin with our session today. So my first question goes to Anjali, and all the other panel members can join in for whatever they have to say. So Anjali, I'll start with the question that centers around the theme of this panel. So mental health is always taken as a weakness, as we have seen it since a long time. So how do you think that we can break this stigma? And to add this, I want to add another question, is that do you think that mental health should be added as a necessary discipline in our school curriculum?
Thank you so much, Akansha, for putting forward this question. I have to say that when we generally hear the term health, we only think of it in the physical aspect. We forget that health is made up of two major things. First is your physical health and second is your mental health. So while we don't hesitate before going to a physician when we have a very slight ache in our head or in our stomach, we just rush to the doctor immediately and seek treatment. But when the pain is from inside and we need healing from the professionals, we just, there's something that holds us back, that we can't go and seek help immediately. And that thing that holds us back is the stigma that we have in our society around mental health. And which is, of course, very sad, because I come from this field and this profession, and I really want to break the stigma. And one thing that I practice the most is communicate. Because when I'm talking about mental health openly and I'm communicating about it, I'm demystifying the myths that revolve around it, people actually get to know the positive side, or the underrated or the unseen side of mental health, which I believe is the need of the hour. So I would definitely say that the stigma needs to break, and the best way is to communicate. Just open up. If you have doubts, talk about it. If you want to promote it, talk about it. Just talk. Don't hold yourself back, firstly. And your second question was, should it be a part of school discipline? Well, I believe, of course, while we are focusing on moral values, general knowledge, physical health, then why to miss on such a major aspect that can help our kids develop as have a full sense of self-actualization and fulfillment when they grow in their life, instead of having a very dark and deep emotional pile hidden in them while they're smiling on the face. Well, that's not a generation that we want to raise. So I believe that it should definitely be a part of school discipline, and this is a much needed change in the society.
Right, I agreed as well. Hina, would you like to add something to this?
Thank you so much. To me, therapy has always been very integral. I personally tell everybody to consider therapy every time they reach a point which is either a barricade or a stumbling stone to them. Instead of waiting for a pile to build up, why not deal with it then and there? Why not find ways to overcome whatever is stopping you, or find ways to help your own self? Therapy is one tool that I believe, beyond all stigmas, should be available and is available and should be opted for. Wherein to include it into the school curriculum? Absolutely. With this generation, we need to teach them who they are, how they should feel, how they should be aware of their feelings, what all emotions are available for them to feel, and not be attached with a negative connotation of everything that they do. so that when this generation reaches the adulthood, we have a generation which is better prepared for the obstacles that life is going to give them. Instead of giving up, they know how to cope up. Instead of waiting, standing, piling up, or burning out, they know who to go to, how to express themselves, and how to accept their expressions as well. So, thank you.
Okay, that's nice. I think the same thing, even I want to say that when you are teaching your kids about basic hygiene, basic manners, this scenario regarding the mental health should also be communicated to them equally, right? Mridula, you want to add something to it? Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, thank you. I just want to add that if we add this to our curriculum, it is only going to help them grow in a better human being, and this will also let them educate the people around them. So yeah, it is a need of the hour.
Okay, all right. So my next question is again to Anjali Swarnakshi as well, and it's very, very trending right now. It's about COVID-19, which we all are facing, and so initially people went under the isolation, reported mental distress, and which wasn't taken very seriously that time. So what's your take on it? Because I mean, I feel that I also personally faced a lot of anxiety, and there were some even blood pressure problems. So lifestyle diseases also came into the, all the aspects during this time, COVID-19 scenes. So what do you think, Swarnakshi, Anjali, what is your take on the same?
I would like to say that, I agree with Anjali that, if you don't communicate, you won't be able to solve your problems. So I think because of this isolation thing and quarantining, that many people stop thinking about their mental health and they focus more on their physical health. They try to stay indoors, they try to stay away from other people, which was in a way good, but for a mental health, it became an issue. Because if we don't communicate, we don't know what we are going through. If we don't communicate, if we don't understand what is it that we are suffering from. So, because of COVID, many people isolated and they stopped thinking about it because they were so focused with the news report, and they were so focused with, concerned with, asking other people how they are doing, that they forgot to ask themselves how they are doing. So I think it has a very big impact.
That's so true. Anjali, would you like to add something?
Yes. Before I share my viewpoint, I would like to share what research findings have shown. Field experts are saying that they haven't seen this drastic of a change in mental health over a very long period of time. Like what they expected to be, like where they wanted mental health as a topic to be, in like maybe coming 5 years, they have just witnessed that thing in 1 year. So, of course, mental health has been impacted vastly because of the COVID, because no one was prepared for such a pandemic where you won't be meeting your loved ones. The new normal kind of hashtag would be trending. So, of course, it has an impact. But I would agree with you. Initially, people weren't taking it that seriously, that, okay, my mental health is also being impacted. But now, people have started to talk about it. I have personally noticed that yes, people are focusing on their mental health as well. Talking about Calm Sage only, they had that self-care reel running. So I think that made people, sometimes you just need that trigger, that okay, where to start from? This is what I can do for my mental health. So that worked as a trigger, even for me personally, that okay, I'm just, working and sleeping and being anxious while swiping through my phone. What I can do instead is, I can take care of myself in a way that promotes both my physical health and my mental health. So I think it was indeed required, and it is still required because, we don't know when it's ending. So please, I request all the viewers and everyone who's watching this right now that focus on your mental health. It's important. Your mind and body are synchronized. So when you'll have peace here, your, body will automatically respond very nicely to the environment. So
what about the lifestyle diseases that we are having during this phase? They are also bringing so many changes within us. Like, what do you think you want to recommend to deal with them?
Well,
you can also yes, Anjali, tell me.
I have arthritis, so it went to another level because I was having continuous anxiety, and I had that, even if I didn't want to bring it in my head at a conscious level, I knew that the news, that the chat that my friends are putting up is having an impact on me at subconscious level. So for that, I would say that you have to focus on both, as I said, that physical health and your mental health. And I think best thing that you can do is yoga and meditation. That's what helped me in reducing my both mental health symptoms and the lifestyle changes, the disease changes that took place eventually. It really helped, breathing and just yoga and meditation that actually brought relief in my physical symptoms, and I felt less anxious eventually with time. And most importantly, yes, one more point, that please don't, go into the doom scrolling thing, that you just go on swiping through the negative news. There's a positive angle as well, and I think you should sometimes just look at that as well, to have a beam of positivity in your life.
It's really important, actually. Hina, you're saying something?
To me, COVID probably, I think, brought out the best, because it gave me the time to focus more on who I am and what I want more. I was way too stuck in a 9 to 5. I was way too, just being grounded from here to there and just doing something or the other and not having time to feel my own self, to express my own self. And as Anjali said, with the change that COVID has brought in the field of psychology, in the field of mental health awareness, in the field of mental health acceptance, it is amazing. I see everybody talking about how they are feeling nowadays. I see so many colleagues of mine, so many friends of mine coming up asking me, I am like this, what to do? COVID has brought out issues that they now need to address finally. And along with which, physical health also, as Anjali said, yoga and meditation. I have combined yoga poses with breathing techniques. I have combined meditation techniques with breathing techniques. Breathing techniques on their own, they help so beautifully for patients who have got diabetes, or for patients who have got blood pressure, with people who have mild arthritis. So all these things, when we use for both mental health and physical health, it is amazing. And COVID has shown us that sitting at home with few, give yourself just 10 honest minutes in a day. Literally, that's all. That has shown us it can bring a huge change in our life. So COVID has been eye-opening.
I think you're showing a really positive side of this COVID thing, where all of us are facing so many difficulties. This is actually a positive side, that we are able to spend time with ourselves and actually understanding. Earlier giving yourself 10 to 15 minutes before office, after office was really typical, but nowadays you can at least give yourself this much time, which is pretty good, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's nice. So, all right. My next question goes to Sarang. So, Sarang, I would like to ask you that while everyone's mental health matter, but when we hear this hashtag men mental health matters, what do you think there's a stigma behind it, and why there is a stigma behind it? And amidst all the prevalent stigmas that a man has to deal with and his own complexities, especially once he has reached a certain stage, then how do you advise he should sort by himself or resolve his own insecurities?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Actually, I think that there is a lot of toxicity, when it comes to a man's mental health. Man, when the mental health of a man or even a young boy comes into the scene, it is seen as, people tell them to be, they tell them that you have to be tough, you have to be very brave, and such is the mentality. Such are the reactions. So what happens is that what happens then is that a man is not able to comprehend his pains to the other person. And what I believe is, just like there are other issues And as was told during the discussion, we need to take mental health as a normal issue. It does, and even if even if it is concerned to a man, we should take that as a normal issue. Yes. If we take it that way, only then will a man or a young boy or a young boy of any age, especially teenagers, would be able to comprehend their problems. They would be able to come out. They would be able to reach out to the other person and tell them that yes, we have this problem.
Right. You're just saying the same thing, that man is also a human being. So don't divide it on the basis of gender. Mental health is mental health for everybody. So
precisely.
Right.
Precisely.
Yes. Swarnakshi, you have something to say?
Yeah. I would like to say I agree with Sarang. The mentality has to change. Because in our society, women are considered more sensitive and men are told to be not too sensitive. I think that has to change. Unless and until we change that mentality, that thinking, no change can happen. I have friends who have gone through this depression. I have friends who've lost their parent in this COVID. And I have seen them go into more depression than they were before. And I think they have trouble reaching out because, they have this mentality that if they do reach out, people will think of them as less. So that has to change first. Only then the stigma will go away.
And the best way to do is communicate. Even men should communicate.
Exactly.
Like as Anjali, Hina have already said, like you have to communicate. Be it anyone, right?
Exactly.
All right. So, anybody else want to say something about this? Anyone?
I would again say one thing, that it starts with your home. So when you actually, come to your coming next generation, or if you have any nephew, or if you have any kid in your family, then you can definitely start talking with him first, that if you are feeling this way, you can come and talk to me. If you are feeling this way, then you should communicate. Don't just keep boiling in those emotions. Come out and speak. So when you start reaching at your place, like in your immediate surrounding, that's when you'll be able to see the change at a bigger level. So that's something.
So I just remembered one thing. When I went to once a nursery school, and the teachers were teaching there about the good touch and the bad touch and how they feel about it. So the same way they have to express the feelings that you're feeling. If you're not happy about something, if you don't like it, you just speak it out. So don't try to make clouds in your head. Speak it out, right?
Yes, agree.
All right. So Ayushi, I think we haven't spoken with you till now. So next question is for you. So Ayushi, you know that therapy is often seen as a weakness amongst many of us. So what can be done by the younger generation to help change this kind of mindset?
Hi, thank you for asking. So, Akansha, while I was researching about this, so I found that it is considered as a weakness because they are not ready to talk about their feelings. Like, they really need to understand that it is okay to talk about this. It is okay to feel like this way, and it is okay to be not okay. Such phrases need to come forward, and we really need to understand that it is like mental health is a normal thing, like physical thing, like physical health goes. So similarly, like promoting such mental health issues and bringing up such phrases and awareing people about these things will, I think, break this stigma, will work to break this stigma. And herein, like, I want to ask Anjali, like, as a therapist, what she is doing to break this stigma around.
Thank you. I think as I said earlier, it's all about communication, but there are certain things apart from communication as well that you can do to promote therapy. And I have to say that first of all, you have to, I believe in the saying that preach what you teach. So, when you start preaching others, like before teaching others, you have to actually preach yourself. Have you been to therapy? Do you have an experience to share? So if you have been through therapy, if you have a story to tell, I think that's when people actually relate more. So if I say that I've been to therapy and it was a nice experience, like not just by reading articles and just by simply, being from this field doesn't make me, I would say, advocate therapy. But if I have a personal experience, then I can say now, if I'm having depression and I'm teaching the other person to go and seek a therapy and I'm not doing the same for myself, so that's a complete wrong teaching. So that's what I personally do, because I have been through that phase of depression. I've taken therapy. I spoke to my school counselor. So I have that perspective to share from both the sides, from a psychologist point of view and from a client point of view. So that actually makes me bring more awareness for therapy in my close contacts and people around me. That's one thing that I have to share.
So I'll come to Hina also for the same, but firstly I have to ask the same question to Mridula also. Mridula, please.
I just want to add that reaching out anonymously to the therapy has seen as like a increase because of the COVID. And I just want to ask that how does that affect their mental health treatment, since they're hiding this from the circle around them, the people they live with?
Right. Hina, would you like to take out that question that Mridula asked?
Online therapy may have the advantage to the client as to the term of anonymity, since they are not comfortable sharing who they are or what they are going through with the near and dear ones, but that is also acceptable. From my perspective, till you are ready to share what you are going through, it is absolutely all right to use the umbrella of anonymity. Online gives you that perfect space where you feel comfortable, where you don't have to tell everybody what you're going through. You're still dealing with it in the right way by talking to a therapist, since it is therapy. Online therapy is a format of therapy. So anonymity may be an umbrella, but the work is being done. So that is just one little thing that they get as not sharing with others, since they are not ready to. Once they go through the process of therapy, once the therapist has given them the rights, once the therapist has got to them on the point which they need to work on, slowly and gradually we do see that they also start talking about what they are going through from where they have reached, like from point A to point B. So online therapy is a good format of therapy for people who may not be prepared to speak about it in open, but still want to seek help, because self-improvement, self-work and self-growth is a part of all of us. So that is absolutely all right. Like, it does not affect therapy. It is just for the patients, or it is just for, for just to satisfy their own self, that I am not expressing it to everybody else, just me and my therapist. So it gives them the boost of confidentiality that it is just between both of us, since I'm not going somewhere and making it obvious that I'm taking therapy. Otherwise, therapy is happening. It is a very upcoming and a booming sector for therapy. Online, I think it will be, or it might be, a good future also.
All right. So thank you, Hina, Ayushi, and Mridula for this question. Okay. Let me again ask you, Hina, another question. And this is, I think, very sensitive topic once again. So we have seen recently that rate of suicide and depression in LGBTQIA+ community and the youth present is more than others. So where could they actually look for the support when people are not ready to accept them and their mental health in front of the world?
Thank you for this. Since it's very, this is one very dicey conversation. LGBTQIA+ community itself is very complicated. All the specifications or all the categories have different kinds of explanation to who they are and what they represent. So for people who are going through a mental health crisis, are the ones who are not even aware where they belong on the spectrum, since the spectrum is way too big for them to find out. If they feel they belong to this community, then we all as a community not only just LGBTQIA+, but as a whole human community should also be aware what does each and every category stands for. So that in case somebody comes to me as a therapist and tells me I'm confused, I should have a small crisp explanation as to this is what each category is in the community. Which one do you resonate to the most? Once that is the first primary thing that we all need to know what each category is. Then we can work on issues, because each category comes with different issues. I can't say that a person belonging to one specific category will have the same problem from the second specific category. There may be a few common ones, but each category has separate issues. Everybody goes through different spectrums of emotions. So we see people going through anger is the highest. They feel angry as to why is it happening to them, because they don't know what it is. They don't understand that it is a process. Everybody is unique. Everybody is different. So the basic problem that we see as therapists is the problem of self-acceptance, self-acknowledgement, from wherein the roots of depression, anxiety, or even bipolarity we have seen they arise, because there is a lot of chaos and a lot of confusion. On a very primary step, each and every one of us should be aware as to how much accommodation we can give to them. Instead of just going outright and asking them, oh, you belong to this? What are you? Why do we need to know? Give them the space, give them the confidence that they themselves can come and express to you. You are not there to judge them. You are simply there as a curious person, or just there to accept them for who they are. Nobody comes up to me and asks me if I'm a female or a male, right? So the stupid comparison that we do, it is literally one of the primary steps as human beings that we can do. Stop with the comparison part of it. Right. From there, we can seriously separate out half of the issues that they face, because separation is where the problem begins.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So Anakshi, you are adding something to it.
So what I have seen and experienced is that, I agree with Hina on this, that self-acceptance is must. If you don't, half of the work is done if you accept yourself as who you are. I went through the same thing when I was discovering my sexuality, and I realized that once I accepted who I was, my depression, my anxiety went way below than it was before, because I was afraid of being rejected in the society for who I was. And because I want to talk specifically about our country. India has the most homophobic rate compared to other countries who have accepted this community as a whole. When you are afraid to come out and tell people who you are, you automatically have this mentality that people won't accept you and you will be rejected and you will be shunned from the society, and it makes you go deep into the closet, which makes it hard for you to accept the mental repercussions that come with it. I agree with Hina on this point that we have to accept ourselves, and we have to accept that every community, every person is different and their issues are different. So I agree with that.
So I hope we all are able to make people aware about this, that whoever the person is, however the person is, whatever his sexual orientation is, let the person also accept the same thing, and let you also accept the same thing, that yes, that's fine and that is okay, and their mental health matters exactly the same way it matters to rest of us, right? Okay.
Yes, right. Exactly. I agree.
Anybody else would like to add something to that?
I'd like to add one point, that when we start, taking individuality into consideration, so I think half of the problems end. Like the male mental health question or LGBTQI mental health question. So I'll just say that when you take that they are individual beings, they have their own feelings, their emotions, their own struggles, their own way to cope, when you start to be kind and compassionate toward everyone, considering their individuality, it's, world will be just a better place to live.
Right, that's so true. So true. Okay. So Ayushi, let me come back to you once again. And this question is very nice. So I'm just saying that communication is known to be a very powerful tool. We are all learning it since now. So is there any other tool to keep up with your mental health?
So, Akansha, as far I have observed, whenever something happens within families, we try to keep our children out of it. Keeping your children out of it, you can actually include them, actually aware them about what is happening, about the real issues. In this way, while communicating, we can also prepare a future generation. And as Anjali said, it starts from home only. So you can, include your kids as well and prepare them for their future. So I think this is the tool I can use.
Yeah, instead of protecting them too much, you should make them aware also. Maybe step by step, but you should keep them aware about the same. Okay. Yes, Mridula, you're saying something about that?
Hi, I just want to add that, as Ayushi said, and we have also emphasized that spreading awareness is much more important. So a person, when they try to reach out, we as a family, a friend, neighbor, colleague, we help them. This is what is important right now.
Right. So Anakshi?
I would say communication is important, but again, I would come back to my previous point that self-acceptance is a very big tool in terms of having cope up with your mental health. Unless and until you discover who you are, you won't be able to understand, what you need. So instead of, being pushed by people to see what instead of them telling you what your hobbies are, figure yourself out first, because that is more important than communicating, I would say, according to me.
Right. Even I personally feel that, I don't know if everybody likes meditation or not, but I personally feel that it gives you an idea about yourself and you start learning about yourself. And once you start learning about yourself, you really don't, get into others' business. You actually try to figure out how to grow yourself, how to nurture yourself more. Hina, Anjali, you would like to add something? Sarang, would you like to say something about it?
I would just say that my personal favorite tool that helps me when, I'm feeling anxious or I'm not feeling well, or, I'm just not in sync with my own self and I feel that something is out of the way. So what I prefer doing is I just try to, just write it all down. Well, everything is it's like venting everything out, not to someone, but in a way that I'm accepting myself. All right, this is what is actually going wrong. These are the triggers, and this is how I can, resolve the issue. And Hina has been a mentor as well when she made me learn a very beautiful mindfulness technique called RAIN. So when she introduced the writing part, I was like, why I have to write? Like, honestly, it felt as a homework at first. I'll be very honest. It felt as homework at first. But when I started to write, trust me, it was midway in the COVID, when we were like in the midway. And I felt so relieved with all the symptoms, all the concerns that I had related to me, my life, my people, and their health. So it was like a very nice part of my life. So thank you, Hina. And yes, writing down, I think, is a very amazing tool that works for me.
Hina, we would like to know a little bit about RAIN here now. We're curious.
Okay, so RAIN is a very amazing technique. Like, it tells you, it brings to your awareness that what you are going through and how it makes you self-reliant. That is what this tool does. First of all, it is recognize your emotion. We have got 5 basic emotions that we work on. So at least for mental health, in ways that trouble us, not the happy emotions. So 5, it could be fear, it could be guilt, it could be anger, it could be feeling of helplessness. So like this, we have got 5 basic feelings. You have to recognize what you are feeling. From recognition, we go to the assessment part of it, as in where does it come from. Like if I'm feeling guilty, where is this guilt coming from in the present moment? I ate a chocolate and now I feel guilty. I'm on a diet. So this guilt is coming from there. So when I further investigate, as in why did I eat that chocolate and why am I feeling guilty now? So it goes that I'm feeling guilty because from childhood I've been told sweets are bad for health. So the guilt comes from there. It may be good or it may not be good, but it is my belief system that eating sweets is bad for health. So from recognizing guilt to assessing where the guilt is coming from, in the investigative part, how is this guilt coming up? It could be coming up in tears, it could be coming up in sweat, it could be coming up in shivering. In any form, the investigation comes to in what ways am I experiencing guilt. Now, the flip opposite belief system of it. Here I build a self-talk. I tell myself, even if I ate one chocolate, it may be just 30 calories. So 30 calories is simply 15 minutes of brisk walking. So if I ate it because I felt like eating it, I can balance it out by walking. So I tell myself, instead of feeling guilty, I choose a positive action over feeling guilty. So it is a format of flip model. Like if I'm going through a negative emotion, I process it from the core. So from that core, I give myself one clue which is trumping that belief system. And from there onwards, I work towards changing that particular belief system.
Okay. So it's like recognizing your problems and finding solution to it, balancing it out. And I think we have a blog on Calm Sage also. Anjali wrote it. So everybody, you should go and check that blog. It's a very beautiful blog and you'll definitely understand the depth of RAIN model.
Inspired.
Sarang, you were adding something. Okay. Sarang, you were adding something?
Not as such, but there was one question. I mean, you can cut this out if you want. But sometimes what happens is that there are certain emotions. I mean, on a personal front, I felt it. There are certain emotions that happen to you, but you are not aware of. And there are times when you are hesitant to even share those problems with someone else. So, I mean, this question is open to Anjali, Hina, anybody. How do you advise anybody who has such sort of accumulation of feelings in them? How do you advise them to express those feelings?
For something that we cannot put in words, I take art. Now, art is one tool. See, even if I feel that I want to do something which the society has told me is not acceptable, I'm just taking an example here. This is a hypo situation. This is not anything realistic. For example, if somebody comes from a home which is verbally abusive or emotionally abusive, these are two kinds of abuses that we don't see, we feel. Right. So if somebody comes up to me and is not able to express this kind of abuse, okay, because it is very personal and it is one of the most darkest kinds of abuse somebody goes through, okay, because the scars are deeper. Somebody cannot come up to me and tell me that I am facing a verbal or an emotional abuse on the hands of my father, because society, we are taught our parents are never wrong. Okay. For example, if somebody is going through a torturous situation in a space which is supposed to be the most safe space to them, but are not able to express it to me, because again, we grow up in such a manner that we are told कि ये सही नहीं हो सकता, or if this is not how you should perceive it, you are perceiving it wrong, they are doing it for your well-being. They are dark spaces. So it's difficult even for the client to express themselves, because one, they are going through that abuse. 2, they are guilty that they feel it is an abuse. 3, they still have to get the courage to express who they are or what they are going through. So we I generally suggest everybody go through something like non-directive, a stimulus which is present but it is not felt. Art is one of the most easiest tools. Give them a blank paper. Okay, now I understand the metaphorical parts of drawing. Okay, I've done arts therapy also. So I understand, like if somebody is giving me colors, just colors. So different colors mean different emotions. Every color comes with an understanding. For example, somebody is just giving me figures. So figures have to be processed as to how, where, what, and what is it trying to tell me. Spirals have different meanings. Stars have different meanings. Mountains have different meanings. They are all simply indirective. They are not directive. So if somebody is going through something which is very troublesome, and for them to express it in words make it final. Okay, because words are the basic communicative way. But art is abstract. Anybody can draw anything, right? I give you a blank paper and ask all of you to draw scenery. You all are going to draw mountains, rivers, and homes, right? But how, where, what is the situation of it? What is the position of it? How is the house brick? How is the house door? How is the house window? Is there a boundary or not? How is the river made? How are the mountains made? Where is the sun? Where is the moon? Is there aquatic life? Everybody has a different interpretation to something which is very common to all of us. So art is one way that I suggest we can use for expression, or we can use as a diagnostic tool also. So if there is something that you find difficult putting in words, try using colors, try using shapes. First, express yourself out on a blank paper before you pick up a paper which asks questions from you. Thank you.
That is really insightful. Anjali, you want to say something? Adding it to it?
I was just saying that very beautifully explained. I went into a whole different feeling kind of.
Actually, me too. That was good. Okay. All right. So let's come to the final question. And this question is for everybody here. Now, how do you plan to normalize mental health therapy in coming years amidst the stigma related to psychotherapy these days? So, I mean, let's go one by one about it. Ayushi, what do you say?
Okay, hi. Thanks for asking. So, we really need to understand that mental health is equally important as physical health, and physical health and mental health goes hand in hand. If you feel stressed constantly, suppose if someone is constantly stressed, so it will somehow impact on his immunity. So similarly, we should start looking mental health and physical health equally important. And we go to physical doctor, we should also start visiting mental health doctors and therapists.
Right. Mridula, what do you want to say about it?
Yeah, I just want to add that I'll keep on spreading the word among the world with our social platforms and the blogs on Calm Sage. And also personally, I would like to meet people and tell and share my story and ask them, be comfortable. That's all.
Yes, Varnakshi.
I would say that mental health is equal for all, and you shouldn't discriminate between between people according to your race, religion, caste, sexual orientation, gender, sex, anything. If someone is going through something, talk to them, reach out to them, and don't tell them to get over it, because that is the last thing you want to do. That is going to be a tipping point for many people. I have seen people where last year I talked to a friend and I just contacted her. There was no ulterior motive to do that. I asked her how she was doing, and she told me that she was going through a very bad phase, and just a few weeks ago she contemplated committing suicide. And I was shocked to my core, because it is something that I have gone through. I have survived that. And when someone tells you to reach out, and when someone tells you to talk to them, and if you don't, it could have a very bad impact on that person who's going through that. So if you say that you will reach out, please reach out and normalize this thing, because if we don't talk about it as normally as Ayushi pointed out, it's not going to change. It's not going to help anybody. So that's my point.
Oh, and in fact, our viewers can also read Swarnakshi's courageous story on CalmSage. Hats off to Swarnakshi for dealing with it. And Saran, do you like to say something about it?
I completely second what Ayushi said, what Swarnakshi said, what Anjali said, what Tina said. Throughout the discussion, just as personal hygiene is important, mental hygiene is equally important. And I believe that you can stay mentally hygienic by, expressing your issues. If you have some issue in your mind, in your heart, just let it out. Talk to people. Don't let it accumulate to a point that it reaches, it takes an ugly turn. Don't let that happen. Whether it is about talking to your parents, whether it is about talking to your friends, whether it is going out and talking to a therapist like Tina herself or Anjali herself, or whether it is going through academic journals or material, reading blogs such as CalmSage, do it. But just clear every ounce of dirt that is there in your heart and mind. It's very, very, very important.
True. And our psychologists, Anjali and Hina, you guys are already doing a great job in making people aware about this. But this 2020, is there anything else you would like to add on? Would you like to promise something in 2020 that yes, this is what we are going to do, a step up above what we are already doing to normalize mental health amongst the people?
Okay. I'd say that mental health and these are the social stigmas. In between, as you can see, there's this one person, that's you. So it's you who can really bridge this gap, no matter how many, panel discussions you are listening, webinars you are attending, books you are reading. But until and unless you don't decide to take a step to bridge this gap, there won't be any change. Like literally you can listen to me, or anyone from the field like 100 times a day, but until you don't have that will to, be there for your mental health or, take it into consideration, the change won't be there. So considering the fact that 2020 has been like people are saying that we just want to wipe out this year and these things, I would rather, give them this message that there's a lot of learning. Like everything happens for a reason and there's a lot of learning. So look at the learning aspect and see, I have also lost someone very, very close to me because of this pandemic. And I can't emphasize more that how big of a learning point it was. Like, of course, it had its own negative points, its own deep down things. But as I said earlier, the gap between these two things was just me. And I chose to be on the positive side, on a side that will be in line with my mental health. So it all starts with you. So please don't just make the hashtags going trendy. Be a part of it and just, you are the one who can bring the change. So please be active, please be proactive and promote mental health and stop joking around it because it's not a joke. So that's my take.
Right,
So first, I would start this conclusion by thanking 2020. Okay, so 2020 has been amazing to me, even though I've not done much, but what I have done has been enough for me. I have put up a lot of workshops which I did not charge anything for. I have personally asked people to, I am not taking therapies, I am doing workshops, come and attend them, just be there and listen, don't even participate. Sometimes the listening aspect is also creating awareness, right? So to me, I, in casual conversations, I drop, why not try this? Why not do this? Why not bring in more gratitude in life? Why not try being more self-centered, where you are equally giving to yourself as well as to the society? Why not adapt things like mindfulness? Like, you love coffee so much, but give me one way how it tastes to you. Why not feel it? So for me, when I say how do I wish to or will continue to till my last breath, promote mental health is by asking everybody to live in the moment, because past is already done. Future is not in your hands. What you can do is in the present and in the now. So talking, I will take therapy, I will do this. Why not do it today? Why not think for yourself today in this very moment? Anybody who wants to say something or even want to reach out, why do it tomorrow? If you have thought of it, just complete that step. Live in the now. Think about your own self. Put yourself before every time. Like, be very grateful to who you are. You are somebody who has gone through a lot to be who you are today. So basic gratitude, thankfulness, awareness by talking about it as much as I can, to simplifying concepts for people, to finding small little activities which make mental health even more interesting and even more interest developing. So this is how I plan to or will continue to give myself to mental health and its awareness.
What are you going to do to promote mental health? Like, not
Me personally,
that of others.
Sorry, your voice is breaking.
Sorry, I'm saying that what will you do to promote mental health, not only of yours, but of others as well?
Okay, so one thing that through CalmSage, I am doing the same thing. Other than that, I'm also posting similar things on my Instagram account, my Facebook account, just like Mridula also said. She's also sharing it on social media. And with that, I also share my story with everybody, my story of depression and some other problems. I first share it with others also, so that they, today they get up from that place. And, I don't know if we should add this into this scenario, but there was a time once in my school when some guy spoke random things about me in school, and I was standing on my terrace to jump off. So I even thought about suicide once in my life, not just once, more than once. So that was a bad phase. So today, if I see someone like that, some teenager who's going through depression, or somebody who is in their mid-20s going through that phase, I always tell them that there is a life more to that. So just look for it, just look for that thing. And I would always recommend to go to a therapist. Unfortunately, I did not go for a therapist. Unfortunately, my parents did not understand this thing at that moment, but still I'm here, and I'm here to now take this ahead, that you should not, suffer within. All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And now we believe that all our viewers would help us in normalizing the fact that mental health is equally important as physical health. And just like the way you consult a doctor when you're feeling feverish, it's exactly same as asking a mental health counselor when you're facing any kind of anxiety or depression or any other disorder. And with that, we would also like to follow CalmSage on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and carry some good vibes with us. Thank you.